Democrat senators declared stupidest senators of all possible senators. Now, Macy Hirono here is pictured because at one point she actually asked ACB whether she ever committed sexual assault or ever committed sexual harassment. And aside from being astonishingly stupid, I think this question was really a very transparent way of flaccidly trying to show the American public, well, these concerns about sexual assault, about sexual harassment, they weren't restricted only to Justice Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing. We ask this all the time. This is just a matter of course, you see. We need to cover our bases and make sure that we get this covered every time, which of course is not true. You look one confirmation hearing prior to Justice Neil Gorsuch's confirmation hearing, and you can see that nothing even approaching such slanderous and scandalous accusations were approached by the Senate Judiciary Committee. But she actually did outdo herself, which is impressive, because asking a conservative Catholic mother of 7 from middle America whether she had committed sexual assault or sexual harassment, by the way, building one of the most impressive legal careers in the country, no less, even that was outdone by what's covered here a little bit in the piece is that you saw that Mazie Hirono went over the fact that the term sexual preference is actually demeaning. It's discriminatory. It's offensive to members of the LGBT community. And the reason why she gave it, the actual reason, aside from the satire you see here, the real reason is that preference gives the connotation that there was some kind of deliberation. There was a choice in whether or not you chose to engage in sexual relationships, whether you chose to identify as someone who is restricted to sexual attraction to those of the same sex. And that connotation of choice, of course, undermines the kind of born with it mentality, the idea that this is really all a journey. And to the extent that there was any time spent between either being straight or being unsure and kind of officially coming out of the closet, that wasn't a deliberation. It wasn't a decision-making process. You were actually gay or bisexual or whatever the sexual identity or preference or interest is. You were that way the entire time. And so her claim was that the sexual preference was offensive. Now, as someone who usually likes to pay pretty close attention to these kinds of things in the culture, I have several friends and a significant other who is certainly on the left side of the aisle when it comes to social issues and issues of culture. And even this one was befuddling. I was not aware that this was really even hotly contested or objected to in the LGBT community, the simple term of sexual preference. But apparently this came up during the confirmation hearing. And you saw that I believe it was Merriam-Webster actually amended and changed the definition of preference, of sexual preference within its dictionary, at least online, I believe, and now listed that preference in the context of referring to sexual preference, while it did give the definition that it shows that it's meant to describe a person's intention or choice in who they are sexually attracted to, it also has now a note within the actual dictionary definition that it's seen as offensive by the LGBT community. Now, many people would think that somebody's subjective interpretation of the word really doesn't belong in a dictionary. That's really a matter of public debate, and it's certainly not a consensus, even among the actual supposedly affected class. Again, the LGBT community doesn't seem to have widespread outcry on this issue. So it's odd that this would really have to apply to the population at large. But further, the even more stunning development is that this amendment to the definition was done in the matter of 24 hours. So they were very quick to back this up. It's all very transparent. They're not really fooling anyone. I think most people you would talk to is either on one side where they said this is a very transparent attempt to satisfy the woke left and try to keep up with the times and keep up with the supposedly affected class's desire to mend definitions on the one hand, and even on the left, I think they would recognize that yes, this definition was changed, but for some reason of fairness or sensitivity, the change was called for and it was justified, and it's simply beyond time. It's past due to be updated anyway. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who would contend that this was not changed and was not changed in hasty order after the questioning from Senator Hirono.